Hey girl, hey, it's your girl Janelle Renee, and I'm back again for another video. Welcome to my channel, Redefining a Woman's Worth, where we are living life for purpose, on purpose, and purpose, where I'm going to talk about beauty, I'm going to talk about lifestyle and faith. And so if that sounds like you, something that you're interested in, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share with your community, share with your sister, share with someone that you know needs to hear this. And so here I am again, trying to be committed, right? I know last time I was on here, I talked about me coming on and being more committed and consistent and just showing up. I haven't done the greatest job of that, but we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And so I wanted to come on and just ask a question first, like, sis, are you like showing up wholeheartedly? As I was reading my Bible this morning, and I was reading, I think it was Joshua 13. It was either 13 or 14, where Caleb was approaching Joshua about the inheritance that God had promised him. And in this dialogue, he got to saying, because I trusted the Lord wholeheartedly, because I believed the Lord wholeheartedly, because I served the Lord wholeheartedly. Like the word wholeheartedly was like mentions three times in like a small excerpt of that chapter. And I was like, dang. And then there was like a reference to one of the words wholeheartedly of Deuteronomy 136. And I went to that, and that was again where the Lord was speaking to Moses about Caleb, saying, because he served me or believed me wholeheartedly, this land I am going to give him as an inheritance. And so I looked up the word wholeheartedly, and I'm like, a lot of times we think that we know what words mean because we hear them and we understand context, but, I just kind of wanted to get more into the definition. And, it talks about, the committed, being committed is, I should have brought my journal here, y'all, because I took some notes on it. But go look it up. Go look up wholeheartedly for yourself and look at the definition. And so I got to asking myself a question, and I'm like, am I serving the Lord wholeheartedly? You know what I mean? Like, am I doing anything wholeheartedly? Because when I begin to look at the definition, I'm like, dang, like it talked about with no hesitation, with no fear. It talked about, basically, being fully committed, being, like just totally like, just you having a resolve, right? You're not backing up, you're not backing down, you're not retreating, you're kind of you're just steadfast in that thing. And so I was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, dang, Lord, like, what do I need to do different in my life to really show up wholeheartedly in every area? Number one, for the Lord and for myself, but for my family, for my business, for ministry, for my friends, for, just for every area of my life. And I'm like, as I'm pondering that, I've already been pondering so many things these last couple of days. And, I just I'm really looking at and examining my life, because I'm trying to discern, like, what is really keeping me from the life I believe God has placed and showed me in my heart, the desires of my heart. A lot of us know the scripture where it says, delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall grant thee the desires of thy heart. And we quote those things, but do we really like understand context? It's like, everything we desire in our heart is not from God, because the Bible also says our hearts are deceitfully wicked, and who knows it, right? So some of the things that's in our heart may not be from God, but the things that are from God, what is keeping me? What is keeping you? And so the things that the Lord began to show me was, one thing that is keeping me in particular from, really walking in the fullness of the purpose, the plan, his will, the fruitfulness, the prosperity, the success, and so on and so forth, is the fact that I don't be really like committed to what's required. I don't really be committed to the hard thing. And I said to myself, like, Lord, I know the thing to do. You know what I mean? So some of the things that I'm struggling with, it's like I have the knowledge, I have the skill, I have the understanding. Like, I really know what to do, but for some reason I have not applied it. And see, sometimes we think that because we go through things like deliverance, we kind of get delivered from some certain generational patterns, cycles, curses, or whatever you want to call them, right? And maybe there is spiritual influence or spiritual oppression that is happening, that is keeping you bound. And you go through deliverance, you go through inner healing, you go through, having these things dealt with, having these doors closed, having, the enemy lose access and legal rights broken and covenants broken. And, then the Bible talks about freedom. It talks about that Jesus came to set the captives free, and those he set free are free indeed. And however, there's a part of that freedom that some of us are not walking in. And I'm like, Lord, why is that? And as I was pondering on that question, the thing came up like, it's because even with deliverance or even inner healing, that's one component. Like, that's dealing with the spiritual aspect of it. But there's still a natural aspect that you're responsible for. And so when you get delivered from something, it is still your responsibility to do what's required to renew your mind. Like, if you were in a generational cycle and pattern of poor stewardship or, mismanagement of your finances, just because you get delivered from a spirit of poverty or a spirit of lack or scarcity or, failure or anti-success or backwardsness or whatever the case may be, does not mean you're going to wake up the next day and you just going to know how to manage your finances. You literally going to now have to renew your mind. You're going to have to unlearn and relearn, right? And that's the hard part. The easy part is deliverance. Like, it's easy, through the power of the Holy Spirit, through the power of God. Like, it's easy to cast out a demon. It's easy to get, freedom from oppression, but it's not easy to renew your mind, because if it was, we all would have a renewed mind. Even as believers, a lot of believers don't have a renewed mind. This is why people still have they go back to their old ways. They go back to their old habits because they have not renewed their mind. And so as I was thinking of renewing the mind, I'm like, well, Lord, what does that look like practically, right? And sticking with the example of finances, that means you now got to immerse yourself, right? You got to get educated. You gotta, immerse yourself in things that are gonna help you learn. You're gonna have to unlearn your bad habits and relearn new habits, right? And so you gotta, read books. You're gonna have to take classes or courses. You might have to, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, people who help people learn how to, manage their money and, get a hold on their finances and get debt free and, become good stewards, right? You're going to have to do things. You're going to have to, probably get maybe a financial coach or a financial advisor or a financial representative, on and on. There's so many resources out here, but sometimes we don't recognize that once we did the work spiritually, that there is still a work to be done. And it won't be easy, because it's not easy to unlearn like what you've done your whole life. Like, it's not easy to just decide to, it's not always easy. Sometimes it is, but it's not always easy to just stop something, just to change your mind overnight, right? Of something in a way of doing, thinking, and being that you've been your whole life. Like, the Bible talks about whatever so a man think of, so is he. And so sometimes all we know is bad habits of poor stewardship and money mismanagement, and we don't know how to budget $10, let alone $100,000 or $1,000. Like, because we never saw that. We don't understand how to prepare for our future and to save. We don't know how to live beneath our means and be content. We don't understand seasons and times, and we don't understand the economy of money and GDP and ROI and investments and dividends and Roth IRAs, right, and 401ks and pensions and, annuities and, all different type of investment vehicles and variables and, or universal variables and, how to, even leverage life insurance and using other people's money. We don't understand interest, and we don't understand compound interest, because these are things that were not passed down, or these are things that we were not ever exposed to. So to think that because you go through deliverance, or because you kind of go through inner healing and you deal with some of the spiritual things, because yes, some of it is spiritual. All of it is, really, because everything is spiritual, because everything originates in the spirit realm. So yes, there probably is a cycle and pattern in your bloodline. You could probably trace it. You could probably see maybe your parents or one of the parents didn't do well with finances. Maybe there was always a struggle. Maybe there was always robbing Peter to pay Paul. There was never enough. Maybe, parents was working, but you never saw the money in the home, or maybe the parents had some kind of issue or addiction, or maybe they just had poor management skills. Maybe you just came up from a family where there it was just poverty. The parents wasn't making enough, or maybe you had a single parent home and it was just difficult because it was just your mom and one income, and you had you and your siblings. Life can be hard. You know what I mean? So you have to be taught these things. Nobody's just necessarily born with, understanding finances and how to be a great financial steward. Like, that is something you're taught. And the thing that I've learned as I have navigated becoming educated in finance, and I'm going to talk about that for a minute, because if I'm honest, y'all, my finances is terrible. I'm just going to be 100% honest. They're terrible. And they're not terrible because I don't have the education. It's not terrible because I don't have the knowledge, because fortunately for me, I got a career in 2016. I was a licensed insurance agent with life, health, and accident. And as a life agent, I was able to dabble and dab into finance and become a financial representative. So I was able to learn finance. And then, I went to a seminar, and then I ended up becoming a certified financial coach under Dave Ramsey in 2023. So, and then I know about investment somewhat. I've had wealth management. I've had people, that I had to pay to manage my finances and my portfolio that I had in the stock market. I've been very wealthy, and I've also been very abased, right? Like Paul, like I've been abased and I've been abounding, but I've discovered the secret to all, and I've been content in any and all situations. But I'm gonna be honest, like, being like in poverty and being in lack or not having enough it's hard to be content in that. I'm gonna just be 100% honest. But I have experience, and the thing about it is, knowledge that's not applied is just information. Knowledge is power when you apply it. So that's why the enemy don't always fight you getting knowledge. Yet there is things he will fight you on: revelation knowledge of kind of what he's doing to keep you in bondage, knowledge of how he's operating in your life, and he will try to keep you bound. But there are sometimes he's not really worried about you getting knowledge, because he has enough wisdom to know that just because you have knowledge don't mean you're going to apply it. How many of us know people who just know a lot of information? Like, they just know things. They're always, at this conference, this seminar, this webinar, they're in this, they're like perpetual students. They've been in school like their whole adult life. They just keep going back, getting more and more degrees, but they just ain't doing nothing though. They still, living check to check. They still struggling. They still having to get a payday loan. They still don't have an emergency fund. They still don't have, fruitfulness in their life. They're just kind of just like, it's like they just are information like grabbers. They just like to hold a lot of information, but they don't do nothing with it. But they can tell you how to do, what to do, when to do, right? But they don't apply it to their own life. And that was me. I'm just going to be honest. That was me. I'm very studious. And so while I have gone to school a couple of times, and I do have some things under my belt. However, sometimes learning, it comes easy to me. And because it comes easy, and I'm just very like passionate about, learning new things and getting understanding. Like I'm very analytical and logical. So I like to get understanding. The Bible says wisdom is the principal thing, but in all that getting, get understanding. So I'm just the type of person that I'm really very studious. I like to learn, and learning is pretty, comes to me really easily. Like, I don't have to study very hard. I can retain information very well. I can remember, I'm just like, my brain is just wired that way. So it's easy for me to, like, I have several licenses. It's easy for me to do that. Like, I've taken the life test more than once because I've let my license expire, and I took the test all over again, and I got a 92. And that's because I had already been licensed. I already had the information. It still was some of it was in my mind. It was just like a refresher, like, I don't have anxiety when it comes to test taking, on and on and on. So for me, it's easy to absorb a lot of knowledge. Now, what I will say is, in a lot of instances, it is not easy for me to apply it. Certain things in my life, yes, I will apply it. But when it comes to things that are like, that's going to take a little more effort, that may not come to me as easily, that may be, that maybe I don't feel like I'm good at, so to speak. I tend to, even if I start, I just don't be fully committed, or I don't do it wholeheartedly because I get frustrated easily. I'm frustrated because I'm so used to things being easy. And when they're not easy, I just tend to like want to just throw in the towel. So I have found myself being in perpetual states of debt and just poor stewardship, money management, and just poor decision making in general. Not because I don't have the knowledge and the skill, not because I don't have experience, simply because I have not gotten to a place where I can really apply it and be consistent. And also I think I probably just want instant gratification. I just want instant results. I want to see something in the moment. Like the moment I start, I want to see a difference, And so I tend to, like a lot of people, you back up, or you just feel like, this ain't gonna work. Or you just fall back into the old habit because it takes time to unlearn and relearn. Like renewing your mind. When the Bible talks about renewing your mind, the Bible is that's referencing even in Joshua 1:9, just meditating on the word day and night. That's how you renew your mind in the word. Like that's how the word gets in you. Let this mind be in me that's also in Christ Jesus. Is you studying the word, because that's the only way you're going to know the word. That's the only way you're going to know Christ and know the Father, is studying the word, because the word is Jesus. The Jesus is the word in the flesh, right? He is logos. And so that's how you renew your mind after the word, but that's also how you renew your mind after anything else. You study, you research, right? You study to show yourself approved. And a lot of times we miss that. We are looking for everything outside of us, when everything is in us, because he who is in us is greater than he that is in the world. And so I just come to y'all today because, sometimes we're trying to take on too much all at once. Like we want to change our entire life and our entire circumstance in a moment. Because if you like me, you tired. You tired. You frustrated. You're tired. You depleted. You're just totally like frustrated, right? With where you are. You're tired of being like on the same merry-go-round. And you feel like you just have to change like everything at once. Like, okay, you want to get healthier, you're going to start this lifestyle change in your health. You want to get financially healthier, you're going to start this lifestyle change in your finances. You think you got to eat the elephant all at one time, but it's like, no, I find the greatest way to stay consistent is to start with the small things. Make small changes, right? Just start with, I'm going to drink more water. And after you do that for, take about 21 days to develop a new habit, and then I'm going to eat healthier, right? I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to eat, go to the farmer's market. I'm going to cook more. I'm going to not eat out more. Like, it's just small changes. Consistency. And so for me, even though this video is already 18 minutes, I don't really like social media per se. I like to watch it, but I don't want to be the one in front of the camera. I don't want to make content. I certainly don't want to be editing no videos. Like, to me, that's just like the last thing on earth I want to do, if I'm honest. But that's something that I feel the Lord has been calling me to do for a long time. And I think my life could have been so much different had I just stayed consistent and maybe just got on every day for 5 minutes. And then maybe it then went up to 10 minutes. Like, instead of me thinking that I got to get on here and make these elaborate videos and do all this editing and make these fancy videos, and just came on as I was and just got committed and did it wholeheartedly, like, I would probably be further in my life. And I want to challenge you, like, what has God told you to do? What is the thing God has been placing in your heart over and over again? Because one thing somebody said to me today that really like, it just like punched me in the gut. I was talking to a sister in Christ, and she was saying, when God tells us to do things and we don't do it, but then we look up and we see somebody else doing exactly what God told us to do, that hurts worse. It hurts worse than the uncomfortability of getting out of your comfort zone and that familiar place and breaking that habit, because that sometimes can be painful, but it hurt worse when you look up and you see somebody doing the very thing God told you to do. And so I was like, oh, when she said that, I was like, okay, you know, because this social media thing comes up often to me. So many people, clients, people that don't even really know me, first time clients and all that, people like, you need to get on social media, you need to do content, you need to be, you know, you need to be marketing on social media, you need to be putting the things that you do and what you got, what you created and all these things on social media. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really want to, you know, and I'm probably my biggest enemy. I'm my biggest barrier. You know, it's not the enemy attacking me, it's not people, it's me, because I'm not showing up. You got to show up for you. Nobody else going to show up for you like you. We want God to do all these amazing things in our lives, but we won't even commit to the small things. And so I want to say this video is just me just wanting to bring y'all along this journey and just to kind of pose some of the questions that I'm grappling with, and maybe it might be exactly what you need to hear to get you ignited to just start to just put one foot in front of the other and just do. Don't worry about what everybody else doing. Don't worry about what you don't got. Don't worry about the money that ain't in your bank account. Just put one foot in front of the other. I keep hearing some a young lady that I've been looking at some of her videos, and she keeps saying this. She's like, people want there to be the evidence before they do something. But the way God works is you do something first and then the evidence follows. So a lot of us haven't started because we're looking for something. We're looking for some confirmation, some affirmation, some evidence that, okay, God is with us. He's going to go before us, that he's going to provide the money, that he's going to open the door. He's going to give us the favor. He's going to turn it in our favor, all these things. But God is like, you got to move in faith first. You got to take a leap first. And so I just want to help those of my sisters, because part of what I do is I am a fire starter, I am an igniter, I'm an exhorter, right? I like to really push people and propel them into their destiny and their purpose. And, you know, I never really understood it, but that's just a gift. But I love to do that, but I have a hard time doing it for myself. But I want to admonish you, because we're going to get in front of the judgment seat, and God is going to begin to examine our lives and question us about what we did not do and what we did do when it comes to the purpose that he has placed us on this earth for. Not your career, not your job, not, you know, all the things that you did in your life that may be good, but the specific things that he has called you to do, that he's called me to do, right? And I really don't want to get to that, and he cast me, tell me that get out of his face, he never knew me, or, you know, that I'm be cast into the eternal, you know, like a fire where there's been weeping and gnashing of teeth. Like, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear, well done, that good and faithful servant. Do you want to hear that? And so I just want to just leave you with this last thing, y'all. Your life and my life is the culmination of our decisions, our choices. So every choice that we make is going to have a direct reaction to what we do. Looks like I'm gonna be doing some editing today because I forgot to put my phone on do not disturb and I got a phone call. But like I was saying, our lives are a totality, a culmination of our decisions and our choices. Whatever decisions that we have made today, we're going to see the repercussions, the consequences, and the results of it in the future. It could be in the near future or the distant future, but that's what's going to happen. And once I kind of continue to meditate on that, I also thought, like, we're one decision away from the best life that God has for us, and we one decision away from the worst life, depending on what decisions we make today, right? So why not start today and make wise decisions and make God-ordained decisions, aligned with God, his purpose, his will, his plan, even when you don't know the destination, even when you don't know the next step, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it takes you to a place that's unfamiliar to you. Are you willing? Are you willing and obedient to follow God, to make the decisions that's going to take you to the plan that and the place that he has for you? Or are you going to just stay complacent and stay stuck in your ways and say things like, this is just how I am, or this is just how it is, or God must just want me to, you know, this to be my life? And because the devil's a liar. You are responsible for you. Nobody's going to come rescue you. Nobody going to come save you. You're responsible. You got to get yourself up by the bootstraps, and you got to get up and go forward. No matter how many times you've fallen, the righteous fall, but get up every time. You got to get up, sis. And you got to you got to keep going. You got to put one foot in front of the other. So that's what I have for you guys today. I do want to go ahead and talk about what I do. Sometimes I struggle, and it's all in my mind to talk about what I do and the things that I have. And maybe what I have or what I do is something that can help somebody that will come across this video. But because I allow fear to keep me bound, I never talk about it. And so I'm going to start talking about it every time and getting comfortable talking about myself, because sometimes it's just uncomfortable for me. But I am a mindset and relationship coach. I've had a coaching business since 2022, Redefining a Woman's Worth. That is my registered trademark brand, and that is how I help women, and I'll walk alongside them to help them, to learn how to have healthy relationships, first with themselves and then with others, right? How to identify, red flags versus green flags, how to set healthy boundaries, how to identify, your attachment style, how you connect, in relationships in general, how to come out of that, so on and so forth. I walk alongside ladies, helping them to come out of, just having cycles of bad relationships, whether it's friendships, romantic relationships, working relationships. Like, you just don't have good, healthy relationships. You're always letting your boundaries be crossed. You always being a people pleaser, and you're always compromising, putting everybody else's, desires and wants before your own. And you are sacrificing who you are just to make other people happy. That's not godly. That's not of God. You're being a poor steward of yourself. And so I help women to walk in their true worth, and to walk in having and attracting healthy relationships. And then I also help in mindset, just really your mindset around you, around, how you speak to yourself, around prioritizing self-care, around having healthy boundaries, around positive self-talk versus negative self-talk. Just really changing your mind about yourself, because you'll find that you attract what you are. And when you are unhealthy, or you have unhealthy thoughts, and you talk to yourself very negatively, and you have a negative outlook, because guess what? People who don't really love themselves don't care for themselves. And when I say that, like, they don't prioritize, their self-care, rest. They don't prioritize, saying no when they need to say no. They don't prioritize having boundaries and being okay with continuing to have those boundaries and not feeling like they have to always compromise. They don't, prioritize their health. They don't prioritize, the things that are important to who they are. Right? They're constantly, living beneath their true worth and their identity, and they are really, not walking in the purpose that God really has for them. And so I help women to come out of that, because I was her. Like, honestly, I was her. I was always being a people pleaser. I was always compromising. I always had terrible relationships. I was always attracting broken men. I just found myself in, it's like I was dating the same man, different men with the same face, the same characteristics. I just constantly found myself in these cycles. I was always compromising. I was always saying yes when I really wanted to say no. I was always, putting everybody else's needs before my own. I was doing everything for everybody and not showing up for myself. And I had to learn how to come out of that, because I was doing myself a disservice. And so that's what I do. I help other women to come out of that cycle and to really walk in their true worth. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'm going to put some information in the details in the description, and you guys can reach out to me, and I can give you more information on how to connect with me on a coaching level. I also am a healthy hair specialist and consultant for natural hair. That is what I do in my vocation. And I do a lot of consulting, coaching, and education in that realm, because I deal with a lot of clients who have hair issues, hair loss issues. They have hair growth issues. They have, scalp issues and things of that nature. And I help them get on that regimen. I approach healthy hair from a holistic point of view, meaning I talk about, your body, your physical body, your internal health and well-being, as well as your external health and your lifestyle in general. And I help them to attain their hair goals. goals. And so I have a healthy hair guide that I created that is for purchase. It is a digital download, a PDF, and you are able to purchase that. I do have a link that I will be putting the links in the description, but I do have links to my coaching and links to my healthy hair care guide. It's $19.99. It comes right to you. It's over 50 pages, but it's something that is yours. It helps you to identify certain deficiencies. It helps you understand healthy hair oils, how to use them, you know, vitamins, what foods to eat, what supplements to take. You know, again, I'm not a medical professional. You always needed to consult with your medical professional, but just giving you, you know, a little more understanding of how certain deficiencies affect the hair. What are the signs and symptoms of that? You know, I talk about hair porosity, moisture versus hydration, the building blocks of hair, a healthy hair routine, what to do when you have certain issues with your hair, where there's dryness, breakage, excessive shedding, damage, you know, whatever case. And I go in detail on what you need to do and how you need to do it. I also talk about hair loss issues. What are some common causes of hair loss issues? What are some signs and treatments, and so on and so forth. So that book is something that I highly recommend, especially if you're really serious about starting a healthy hair routine and regimen, because the way to healthy hair is going to be consistency. It's going to be your internal well-being, it's going to be your physical, mental health well-being, and your external regimen of what you do consistently with your hair, and you will see results. Unless you have something medically going on that is preventing your hair from growing, then that's when you will be referred to a specialist. However, in other cases, a lot of times I am able to come up with a regimen and a plan, and we are able to start our journey, right? So those are things that I do. Like I said, I will put some links in the description box, and you will be able to go there. Or if you have any questions, you can just leave a comment on this video, and I'll be sure to get back with you. So I just want you to know that your past does not define you. It develops you, and you are worthy.